build and for our friends on the app to join us, I just want to take a quick survey of you guys and throw it up in the comments. We're thinking about launching a store, a DML store, where you can buy hats and mugs and bumper stickers and stuff like that. Tell us what you would be interested in. Is it hats? Is it T-shirts? Is it bumper stickers? Is it mugs? Is it something else that I'm not thinking of? Let us know. Put it in the comment section. I read every comment that you guys throw up there. We're going to go through and we're going to make some decisions on what we need to have in our own store. So if you want something DML branded, give us some ideas there. Maybe even give us some ideas for some slogans, and I'll take them to Dennis, and we'll see what we can do. So, I know I look young. I just saw somebody throw it today. I look like I'm 12. Okay, I know. So, but I'm not. So now we're live on the app, so we're going to get started. The exciting stuff that came out of last night was, I'm sure everybody here was watching President Trump's really remarkable speech before Congress. It felt like a change in tone. It was so good. President Trump's speech was so good. It was so well written, and it was so well delivered that even the mainstream media had to acknowledge how good Trump did last night. This is what he does. When he feels like his back is up against the wall, when he feels like he's got to change the tone and tenor of the conversation, he did this in the campaign on multiple occasions. When he gets backed up like that, this guy's a fighter. He's a classic fighter. And that's when he performs his best. And I felt like, and I'm not the only one, but I felt like he gave possibly one of the best speeches in that setting that I have ever seen. It wasn't technically a State of the Union, but it might as well have been. It's not a State of the Union because he won't have one of those until next year. Because it's supposed to be a reflection on his time as president. He's only been there for a month. But it was so good, and it gave me this glimpse. He's a great man, no question. He was a great candidate, no question. He's not yet a great president. Nobody at this point, just being 4 weeks in, can be a great president. He has a lot to prove, and I think that he'll do it. But last night gave me a glimpse and gave tens of millions of Americans, hundreds of millions of people around the globe, a glimpse of the greatness of Donald Trump. And I'm not saying that to kiss his ass. I'm saying that because this guy's got something that he is charismatic. He's personable. He gave a heartfelt, honest speech. He was tough on the room. He talked about draining the swamp. But he went from being tough on the room to that emotional moment with Owen's widow. And it was one of the most remarkable moments that you couldn't script that. You could not script her reaction. You couldn't script his reaction. It was so authentic in that moment. And I just felt like, President Trump knocked it out of the park. And if you guys haven't seen it last night, I don't know how Dennis does it, but he banged out this great little op-ed. It was his reflection of President Trump's speech, and it was great. You guys should go check this out. It's on DennisMichaelLynch.com. The title of the article is "DML Rates the President's Speech," and Dennis's review was glowing. He said that he knocked it over the fence. Dennis said, "I found it touching when the widow of the Navy SEAL Ryan Owens was given a standing ovation after the president said his memory and bravery is etched into eternity. The tears on her face say so much about the men and women of our military and what they sacrifice each day." And it's so true. And for Donald Trump to use that as an opportunity to recognize not just her husband, but the millions of veterans currently serving and who have served in the past was so nice and so refreshing. It's nice to have a president in the White House that doesn't feel outright hostility towards the military and towards vets. So if you care about this, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you can just look at what's happened in the VA over the last decade to see how easy it is for some traditional politicians to forget these men and women who have sacrificed everything for our country. So, and Dennis ended up giving it, what did he give it? He gave it a 9.97 out of 10. And the only reason Dennis said that is simply to leave room for growth. And I don't know how, I mean, that's virtually a 10 out of 10, which is unheard of. I mean, we can disagree with Obama's politics, but when he was running as a candidate in 2008, he gave great speeches. Something happened. I don't know if he got lobotomized or something, but when he got into office, the guy was so freaking boring. He was so boring. He was lecturous. Nobody wants to sit there and be lectured by this guy that thinks that he knows it all. And I heard somebody, it was actually a Democratic consultant, he emailed me recently, and he said, in reference to Trump, I'd rather have a man like Trump be president who surrounds himself with dozens of advisors that are really well versed in many different issues than to have somebody like Obama that's a know-it-all and doesn't listen to input from everybody else and thinks that he is he's so arrogant and pompous that he thinks that he knows it all. And so and I think that's true with Trump. I mean, he knows what he knows, and he knows what he doesn't, and he surrounds himself with people that make him better. And he doesn't stand up there and lecture you. He doesn't stand up there and lecture me. He doesn't stand up there and lecture members of Congress. He doesn't do that. Now, does he talk them down when he thinks that they've done something wrong, that they're not working on behalf of the American people, when he's talking about draining the swamp, when he's talking about repealing and replacing Obamacare, when he's putting pressure on even his fellow Republicans? Yes, he's willing to be tough on people, but he's not a jerk. And so the tone and tenor of last night was really nice, and how he opened it by recognizing African American History Month was brilliant and respectful. The way that he acknowledged anti-Semitic attacks that are on the rise, and we have the news story that came out yesterday that ISIS is calling for targeting of Jews in the West here in the United States. They're basically saying that they're activating terror cells. I thought that was a really important moment for him to acknowledge these groups and to say that we're all united. And that was a great moment last night. I mean, I think that was the theme of his speech, is that through unity and strength, America can be great again. And he laid out his plan for it, and I thought it was great. And I wasn't the only one. So you know he's done a good job when CNN runs a poll, and it shows that 78% of Americans reacted positively to Trump's congressional address. 57% reacted very positively, and only and another 21% responded somewhat positively. So that there are at least, 30% of Democrats were like, well, God, this guy is pretty awesome. Like he did a pretty nice job tonight. That we'll see if this can win people over. But it felt to me, and I was watching the CNN panel after, because I like to see what the other side is saying about these things. And I watched the CNN panel, and even they had to recognize how extraordinary of a moment this was. And Van Jones was even saying that this may be the beginning of Donald Trump's run for his second term, and it could be one of these moments that define an 8-year presidency. So that was pretty amazing. Now let's move on. The next thing that I saw is that my friend Joe Concha over there at The Hill wrote this great piece. And it's an analysis. And apparently only 3% of the reports on CBS and NBC, mainstream networks, were positive for Trump. So this came from a nonpartisan media research firm, and it showed that just 3% of the reports that they put on air have any sort of positive tone to them. The firm's analysts watched 370 news stories about Trump on the NBC Nightly News and CBS Evening News and Fox News' special report between January 20th and February 17th, which is basically the first month of the Trump administration, to get an analysis of how the different networks were treating him. 43% of the stories on the mainstream media networks were negative, while only 3% were positive. 54% were considered neutral. Please. There is no neutral coverage of Trump in the media. So 3% were positive. The rest were probably trashing him at varying degrees. So, and then they studied Fox's special report with Bret Baier, and they said that the coverage was more negative, but to a lesser extent. Now, that is because Brett is relatively fair. I mean, he's a fair guy. So, he criticizes Trump where he sees fit, and sometimes I agree with him, sometimes I don't. But at least he gives him a fair shake. So the next thing that I wanted to bring up to you guys is, Donald Trump promised to move forward on the wall last night. I know that was reassuring to a lot of people, and he brought up the voice program, and he focused a fair amount on immigration, and finding people in this country that have committed crimes, that are potential violent actors, that are here in this country illegally, and getting them out. And he spent a lot of time on these things, and that's something we haven't seen from our president in quite some time. But when he was talking about the border wall, he got a lot of applause from Republicans, and he got some jeers from Democrats. Well, we'll talk about how disrespectful the Democrats were another time. But there's this story on DennisMichaeLynch.com, and it's called Interest Skyrockets in Bidding on Trump's Border Wall Project. And so there are more than 200 construction and engineering companies that are interested in bidding on the project to build Donald Trump's wall between the United States and Mexico. It would be about 2,000 miles long, the border is. And so this is no surprise. I mean, it would be a fantastic infrastructure project. He spent some time on that last night, explaining that our roads, our bridges, our airports, our bus terminals, our infrastructure is falling apart. And he says we're going to invest in it. He said that we're going to put together a $1 trillion infrastructure package. Well, one of these infrastructure packages would be the wall. And we see that we have many companies that are interested in it, including defense contractors, and even we have some small businesses that are interested in bidding on different aspects of the wall, including 20 owned by Hispanic Americans, and they've come under scrutiny by liberal critics who are saying that that they shouldn't support the wall. All in all, the Department of Homeland Security says that the border wall would cost about $21 billion to build. Trump says that he could do it for less. I believe him. So let's talk a little bit more about that infrastructure bill. This is something that Democrats should be totally behind. They should be totally behind it. We saw actually this morning that one of the presidents of the labor unions stood up and said, this is great for the American worker. If we can get this infrastructure spending done, it's great for the American worker, it's great for the American citizen, it's great for the American taxpayer in the long term, because this stuff's just going to get more expensive. And, when you've got bridges literally falling apart, the time's now to act, and we could employ a lot of people in this period of time that have been left behind by Obamonomics. And so Donald Trump says he wants to move forward on it. I like his idea of using a mix of both public funds and private funds to underwrite it. What Democrats don't realize is that, and I know this because I've lived in this world, is that they think that this is that money just occurs. It just happens. They're not really concerned with the repercussions of trying to either source that money through taxes or source that money through additional debt. And so they're just like, write the blank check and let's move on. Conservatives in Congress are a little bit more realistic about that, and they want to say, okay, well, we need as a country, we have to invest in our infrastructure. We can invest X amount on it, but the private sector is interested in investing money as well in building out different projects, whether it's roads or airports or whatever, and we can come up with a system that is the best of both worlds. And so Donald Trump's laying that out. He said actually in his speech that he wants to follow in the footsteps of another great Republican president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, who spearheaded the interstate highway system. So it was the last major national infrastructure program in this country. So Donald Trump is shooting for the stars here, and I think that he can deliver. The question is, will Republicans get in line and start sending him legislation? I sincerely hope so. I know that Paul Ryan was there, obviously, Mitch McConnell. I hope that they saw how charismatic and powerful the president can be, and it makes them realize that if they don't follow through with their end of the deal, if they don't start sending him stuff to sign, then their jobs are in question in a couple of years, because this guy's not going anywhere. The next thing that we saw, and this relates to this new Trump economy, is that South Korea's LG Electronics is going to build a new U.S. factory in Tennessee. I put this up on Twitter You guys can check it out. I'm at Harlan, Harlan. And so this article is pretty interesting because it looks like they're going to hire up to a few thousand workers at this plant in Tennessee, and they're going to start out by building washing machines and dryers. So it's a great project for the state of Tennessee. It makes a lot of sense. This is clearly in response to, and even the LG's leadership has acknowledged that this is in response to President Trump's goal of boosting manufacturing here in the United States. But that LG is developing a long-term plan so that they can build these factories in the United States, not just the one in Tennessee, but in different parts of the country as well, manufacturing different electronics and home goods. So this is another win for the for the Trump administration. It makes you realize that with just a little bit of work, with a president that's willing to pick up the phone and talk to CEOs, that's willing to make a deal, that's willing to negotiate on behalf of the American worker instead of big corporate globalist interests, that we get a lot done for it. And it means that LG, with their washers and dryers, will start competing on a level playing field with American companies. So, for instance, a company like Whirlpool. Whirlpool makes their washers and dryers in Michigan, I believe. I believe it's in Michigan, and so they're having to incur the costs of employing Americans to build this stuff here. And if LG is making that stuff in China or in Korea or in Taiwan or wherever, they can realize lower costs because workers don't have the same protections there. They don't have the same retirement benefits, the same health care benefits, the same pay. So we're not competing on the same playing field if they're manufacturing that stuff overseas. If they're manufacturing it here, it is level playing field. And so it's not just good for the people that work for the LG factory there in Tennessee. It's also good for the people that work in LG's competitors across the United States. It means that they have to compete with a better product, not by suppressing costs. And so it's a win. It's a win-win. The next story that I wanted to go through with you guys is Obama. Both of them, according to DennisMichaelLynch.com, are going to have separate books, and so they've signed on to write books with publisher Penguin Random House, and so it's going to be probably a big payday for these two. We don't have titles or anything like that. We don't really even have subject matter, but we know that both Barack Obama and Michelle Obama will write books. And we know that Bill Clinton's memoir, My Life, which was published in 2004, after he left the White House, he got a $15 million payday for writing that book. And, Obama has published books in the past, and he's earned millions for them. In 2006, he had the bestseller, The Audacity of Hope, which sold about $7 million worth of copies. So, this isn't the first time Obama's written a book. This will be by far the biggest. He's getting a $15 million payday. I'm sure over time that number will grow, or at least a $15 million payday. We'll see. Actually, I'm sorry. Excuse me. It turns out that the bidding war has pushed this over $60 million. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. So I'm not sure yet if that's for both books or for just one. The Associated Press is putting out some more information on that late today. So we'll get some more information to you guys on that. But that's a huge payday for them. Oh my God, that must be some sort of record or something. Tens of millions of dollars for a book. So anyway, so that is the day. DML's going to be back with you guys really, really soon. We're doing some exciting stuff back at the studio. We're going to show you, well, even since you guys saw it on the last Walk and Talk, he showed you the video screen and some other stuff. More and more has come together. We have cameras in place. We're running wires. We've got lighting going in. We're really professional studio lighting. And we're even investing in some automated cameras that from the control room somebody can control. At this stage, we're not going to be able to have a ton of people at each camera, as Dennis or I or both of us are sitting there doing a show. So what we need to have somebody in the control room able to remotely control cameras. And so we're investing in these cameras. They cost a little bit of money, but it will mean that we can put out a high-quality professional product. And because it will take us less time to adjust, it means that we can put out even more content for you guys every day. So our goal is to put out hours and hours and hours of really good, high-quality, TV-quality content for free for all of you to enjoy. but it costs money. So if you guys want to help us finance the cost of these cameras, which are going to be really important, please go to DennisMichaelLynch.com/donate. Every dollar that you donate will go towards these things. It's really important that we get this going. We're going to move forward with the stuff we have, but we can produce an even higher quality product, and we can start to invest in more talent so we can put on more shows every day, bring over some great names that you guys know and love, and bring them in-house to produce really high quality content with us, with your support. So we really appreciate it. As I tell you guys every time, we are penny pinchers. We spend every dime deliberately, and nothing goes to waste. Nothing goes in our pockets. And so we appreciate every dollar that you can give, $5, $10, $15, whatever it is. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to download the app. It's on the iOS App Store, the Android, Google Play Store. Just search for Dennis Michael Lynch. It's the best way to get the updates. It's how you know that this app, or that we're going to do the walk and talk. We're going to be pushing some big updates to it really soon. As we start to roll out the studio, we're going to have all kinds of new, really interesting video stuff, added to the app. And so I can't wait to share that with you guys. But in the meantime, make sure you download it, because that's the best way to stay up with what DML is working on. So anyway, I'll see you guys really soon. Thank you so much. And I hope to be back at the estate with you guys really soon. I'm hoping that Dennis and I can at least do some sort of dry run and put the studio through its paces so you can see what we're working on. So anyway, thank you guys so much.